Hey everyone, Josh here from Sprout of Philippines in Yabong, Pilipinas in partnership with Omaha Garden. Welcome back to Soil Smart, Gardening from the Ground Up. Today, we are tackling a topic that is especially important if you're gardening in the city or in areas where the soil isn't quite what you'd hope. We're going to talk about raised beds, container gardening, and dealing with urban soils. Sometimes going above ground is the best way to ensure your plants thrive, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Let us start with the question, why would you even need a raised bed or a container? Well, in many urban or suburban areas, the native soil might not be ideal for gardening. It could be compacted, meaning it is hard and dense, making it difficult for roots to grow. Sometimes it has poor drainage, which can suffocate plant roots. And in some places, especially near older buildings, contamination like heavy metals or leftover construction debris can be a concern. Raised beds and containers give you control over what your plants are growing in. You can create a soil environment that's loose, fertile, and well-draining. Basically, the exact opposite of many urban soils. Going above ground is a way of saying I may not have the perfect soil under my feet, but I can give my plants the soil they need to thrive. Let us talk about how to build a raised bed. It doesn't have to be complicated. You start with a frame, which can be made of wood or stone or even recycled materials like plastic bottles. The key there is making it sturdy enough to hold the soil and the water that your plants will need. Once you have the frame, the next step is filling it with the right soil mix. This is critical. You want a mix that's nutrient rich, that's well draining, and also loose enough for the roots to grow freely. A simple mix I like for raised beds is roughly 40% compost and 40% topsoil and 20% coarse sand or perlite. The compost provides nutrients and feeds the soil life. The topsoil gives the bulk of the material, and the sand or perlite ensures proper drainage, so water doesn't pool and drown your plants. If you want to take it a step further, adding a small amount of well-rotted manure or leaf mold can really boost fertility and help your soil retain moisture, especially during hot summer days. Urban soils come with their own set of challenges. Let's face it. Compaction is one of the biggest problems. Sidewalks, driveways, and foot traffic can compress the soil so much that air, water, and roots can barely get through. This leads to stressed plants, shallow roots, and poor growth. As I've mentioned a while back, contamination is another concern. Old city soils may contain heavy metals like lead, especially near older homes or industrial areas. While this doesn't mean you cannot garden at all, it does mean you should test the soil before planting vegetables or edible crops. In cases like these, raised beds or containers are the safest option because you are creating a clean, controlled environment for your plants. Finally, poor drainage is common in city soils. Water may pool after a rain, leaving plants sitting in soggy soil. This encourages root rot and other diseases. Raised beds and containers solve this by allowing excess water to drain freely while still retaining enough moisture for plants to thrive. Now, let's talk about the heart of any urban garden, the soil mix itself. Compost is the secret ingredient here. Rich, well-aged compost provides nutrients, improves soil structure, and feeds all the beneficial microbes that plants need to survive and grow healthier. A good urban garden soil mix should be airy, nutrient-dense, and well-draining. One approach is to mix 50% compost, 30% topsoil, and 20% coarse material like perlite, pumice, or coarse sand. This kind of mix holds enough water to keep plants hydrated, but it is not so dense that roots suffocate. For container gardening, you can even use 100% compost-based mixes, as long as you add perlite or vermiculite for drainage. In small spaces, this allows you to create pockets of incredibly fertile soil right on your patio or balcony, essentially giving your plants the best start possible. When it comes to raised beds and container gardening, the difference between a struggling garden and a thriving one often comes down to the little details. Here's a comprehensive guide to getting it right step by step. First and foremost, you need to check your drainage. Every bed and container needs holes at the bottom to allow excess water to escape. Too much water sitting around the roots can suffocate them and lead to root rot, which is a silent killer for plants. In urban settings, it's easy for water to pool because soils are compacted or clay heavy. If your raised bed doesn't drain naturally, consider adding a layer of coarse gravel or broken pottery at the bottom before adding your soil mix. This creates space for water to escape while keeping the soil above well aerated. Next is focusing on mixing your soil thoroughly. It is tempting to just dump compost on top of a bed, but layering or uneven soil can create hotspots for nutrients and areas where roots can't grow well. Instead, take the time to mix compost, topsoil, and sand evenly. This ensures that every inch of your soil has the same texture and fertility, making it easier for roots to grow and for water to penetrate evenly. Another essential step is replenishing your soil each season. Over time, plants absorb nutrients, soil settles, and organic matter breaks down. To keep your soil fluffy, fertile, and full of life, top off beds and containers annually with fresh compost or well-rotted manure. Even adding a couple of inches is enough to restore fertility and stimulate microbial activity. Crop rotation is also important even in raised beds and containers. Rotating crops means not planting the same type of plant in the same spot every year. For example, leafy greens could follow root vegetables, legumes could follow leafy crops, and so on. This prevents nutrient depletion, reduces the buildup of pests and diseases that target specific plants, and also keeps the soil healthy. Think of it as giving the soil a rest from certain plant families while feeding it in new ways. Companion planting is another practical trick to maximize space and soil health. Planting compatible species together like tomatoes with basil or carrots with onions can improve growth, deter pests, and enhance nutrient cycling in the soil. It's a natural way to keep the soil ecosystem balanced while improving plant performance. Watering wisely is also another critical factor. Raised beds and containers can dry out faster than in-ground gardens. So it is important to water deeply but not too frequently. Deep watering encourages roots to grow downwards, making plants stronger and more drought resilient. Mulching your beds also help retain moisture and reduces the stress on your watering routine. Another practice is testing and amending as needed. Even in raised beds, nutrients can become imbalanced over time. Periodically checking your soil pH and nutrient content allows you to make small adjustments, like adding lime to raise the pH, sulfur to lower it, or compost to boost fertility. It's much easier to prevent problems than to fix them after your plants start struggling. The next practice is paying attention to layering for containers. For taller containers, you can create a gradient where heavier materials like sand or small rocks are at the bottom for drainage. Then a loose soil compost mix above. This prevents waterlogging that helps roots access both oxygen and nutrients effectively. And finally, think about the long-term life of your soil. Avoid using chemically intensive fertilizers or pesticides that can harm soil microbes. Remember, healthy soil is alive, full of bacteria, fungi, worms, and even insects. And it is this life that feeds your plants. Remember, feeding the soil, not just the plants, ensures your garden thrives year after year. In short, your soil is an investment. A little extra attention and care now pays off with stronger plants, higher yields, and a sustainable garden that can thrive for years. So whether your soil is poor, compacted, or just plain dirt, raised beds and containers give you the power to create healthy, productive soil above ground. By using compost-based mixes, ensuring proper drainage, and caring for your soil each season, you can grow vegetables, herbs, and flowers successfully in even the trickiest urban settings. In the next episode, we will be ending this series. Until then, keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep growing from the ground up. This is Josh, your Omaha gardener in this series, Soil Smart, Gardening from the Ground Up. And remember, if you grow it, you know it.